Monday Night Football just wrapped up, and it is currently 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time. It is currently 1:30 in the morning, and Monday Night Football just came to a close. I was going to start this off reviewing the games, Buccaneers Lions, then we'll move on to Texans Seahawks. But it is 1:30 in the morning and the game just ended. This Texans Seahawks game that started at 10 o'clock felt like it went on for 10 centuries. I'm not even joking. It felt like it went on for 10 centuries. The fourth quarter was the worst offensive football and the worst IQ based football I've ever seen in my life. This game felt like it was endless. This game felt like it was never going to end. It's still on. It's still on. But the idiot on the Texans just committed unnecessary roughness and wrapped up the game. This game, the Texans versus the Seahawks that they give us at 10 o'clock and expect people to stay up for, was horrible. Completely horrible. I was going to review the games. I was going to go over what happened, the offenses, the defenses, start with the Bucs and the Lions, move on to the Texans and the Seahawks. That was the plan for the slate. I watched the Bucs versus the Lions. I got what I got out of that game. It was a pretty bad day for Baker Mayfield. And then the Texans and the Seahawks come on, and it's a terrible game to start because the Texans have the worst offense I've ever seen in the league. And they put up 44 the week before. Well, they only blow out the bad teams, and then they put up the worst offensive performance I've ever seen against any other decent team. And then the Seahawks are going on, driving, scoring, and all of a sudden their offense goes kapoof. And they start turning the ball over. Texans start hitting field goals, and then second half on, it is the worst game of offensive football I've ever seen. Why is the NFL giving us these 10 o'clock games? I like the two slate NFL games. Give us the game at 7, then give us the next game at 9. We'll do with watching the fourth quarter if the game's good, and then moving on, and we don't have to watch the first quarter of the second game. And if the first quarter of the second game's good, you could tune over to that one. Jesus, we don't need these 10 o'clock games. Start them at 9 and 7, and then give us the 8:15 game. Or just give us one. Because you're putting the NFC versus the AFC, two defensive teams. One has the worst offense in the league. Clearly, no one cares about this game. It's the same exact thing that you did the last one. Chargers versus Raiders, AFC versus AFC. No one gives a shit about the Chargers versus the Raiders. You know they're not going to be good. If it's going to be at 10 o'clock, it's the Chiefs versus the Rams, or the Chiefs versus somebody, the Chargers, a divisional game, something. But those games are too meaningful to put at 10 o'clock. Get these games off of the damn television. You're wasting football. You're wasting 60 minutes of football on this shit. I'd rather have 5 games at the 4 p.m. slate, or something. Or put the game on Friday, or I don't know. You could figure something out besides 10 p.m. where this is 1:30 a.m. and the game is just ended. Texans versus Seahawks. Let's get to it. 27-19, 27 Seahawks, 19 Texans. This game was not close. I don't care what anyone says. It was kind of, I'm not going to lie, it did get a little close. Because the Seahawks were going to give it away, in my opinion, the way they were playing. But other than that, the game was not really close. The Seahawks came out 14-0. Easy. They were rolling. Then Texans Texas defense was playing great after that. Got a lot of stops. Got a lot of stops. Texans were finally able to get 2 field goals before half. 6-14 going in half. They come out of half. The Seahawks get a field goal. Then Texans answer with a touchdown. 12-17. They get another field goal, touchdown, and the game's over. But after that, so going into the fourth quarter, the Texans were actually playing good defense. And even in the third quarter, Texans were playing good defense, forcing them to field goals, getting stops. But their offense is goddamn horrible. They have Nico Collins. They still can't get him the ball. The only way the offense works is by boot action, play action, passes by CJ Stroud, which I don't know how that works because you know they're not going to run it because they suck at running the ball. And even when they try to run the ball, they can't. They can't. And for some reason, the Texans offensive coordinator keeps on calling run plays right up the middle. I don't get it. I do not get it. The Texans offensive coordinator after this game needs to be fired. Absolutely fired. Nick Caley, whatever his name is, I don't know how to pronounce it, needs to be fired. This is a fireable offense of a game. I do not care. The amount of stops that I watched the Texans defense get consistently, forcing interceptions, forcing turnovers, forcing fumbles, getting turnover rundowns, or whatever they did, forcing field goals at the worst, and to have nothing to show for it is why you lost the game. I don't care if the O-line is horrible. It's the worst O-line I've ever seen. It's worse than the Dolphins. It's worse than the Dolphins. At least the Dolphins can run the ball a little bit. The Texans, they can't run the ball a lick. They can't throw the ball a lick because T.J. Stroud's too worried about him getting sacked. And he sucks at the same time. I'm not going to lie. The guy's been playing like straight trash for the last year. But you can see he still has talent. He's still C.J. Stroud from his rookie season. He can still do some things if he put a decent offensive line in front of him and you run a decent offense. But they fired the best offensive coordinator in the history of the Texans. The guy with two playoff victories. And they hired this scrub who's called 2 run-up-the-middle plays in the third quarter, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, and couldn't get the damn first down. And worse than that, in the fourth quarter, he had 1st and goal on the 3 and did not get the touchdown. And he chose to ran it up the middle on 4th down, and they got bailed out by a false start penalty, and it was 4th and 5 from the goal line to the goal line, and they still didn't get it. They had 5 shots, and they didn't get it. They suck. This is the worst offense I've ever seen, the worst offense coordinator in the league. It's awful. It's awful. That's a fireable offense. In the fourth quarter, I was looking at it. In the fourth quarter, the Seahawks went punt. The Texans went punt. The Seahawks fumble. Texans turnover on downs. The Seahawks then throw a pick. Then it's the turnover on downs. Then the Seahawks punt. They finally get that touchdown. And then it's the end of the game because the kicker didn't. Why can't they just kick it straight out of bounds? Why are you guys trying to kick it through the end zone or don't know to kick it out of bounds to save it to save the 2-minute warning where you could have had an extra 40 seconds, even though it didn't matter because the guy ended up getting an unnecessary roughness call at the end of the game, which is complete undiscipline by the Texans. I don't get why they don't kick it out of bounds, but the game was over. The game was over. This game should have been over. The refs, the NFL office should have called the refs, stepped in, and say, hey, this game is going on way, way, way too long, and it's completely dog shit ending game right now. Seahawks win. Because the way this Texans offense was going, there's no way they were going to do anything anyways in the 30-20 seconds. They should have ended the game a long time, but they should have ended the game in the third quarter. When the Texans can't get a first down. Unless they run a play action to the tight end. Dalton Schultz was the only thing they had going. They had 98 yards. They can't run the ball a lick. C.J. Stroud had 25 yards, and that was just scramble, rush, what do you call it? Panic carries in the fourth quarter. When he needed to create something because he was dropping back 100 times. And the Seahawks offense wasn't any better at the end of the game, but at least they were good in the beginning of the game. And they were getting the ball to their best receiver in JSN for 123 yards. And they were good in the beginning of the game, even though they started playing to the Texans level at the end, almost gave the game away somehow. At least they played at the beginning of the game to manage to win the game. And their defense was good because they shut down Texans offense, even though the Texans offense is still garbage. No matter how good the Seahawks defense is, the Texans offense is completely putrid. They couldn't get the ball to Nico Collins. He ended up getting hurt in like the fourth quarter, I believe. I don't know. This game went on way too long. I could be getting the quarters mixed up for all I know. In the Texas offense, they couldn't do shit. Nick Chubb, 16 yards. Woody Marks, 10 carries, 15 yards. None of them were working. They couldn't run the ball for 1 yard, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. They tried to run the ball up the middle with the shittiest O-line I've ever seen. For some reason, the offensive coordinator decides that can't get the first down. 1st and goal on the 3 after the defense gets a stop. They still can't do it. They still can't do it. It was mind-blowing how long this game was going because of the constant turnovers and the constant turnover on downs. And then the Texans are trying to throw their way back into the game, so the clock keeps stopping. It was mind-blowing how long this game kept going on. It felt like it was never going to end. I was about to go to sleep. I should have went to sleep. If you stood up and watched this game like an idiot like me, you deserve, I don't know, you deserve life in prison. This was awful. Just like the offensive coordinator deserves a life in prison from the Texans. It's completely the worst game I've watched all season. Because there's no choice. I had to watch it. It was the only game on. And it was on at 10 o'clock. And it's 1:40 in the morning. And I'm tired. And anyone who watched this probably fell asleep. Because they were tired of watching. And they were not only tired, they were tired of watching bad football. Alright. Now let's wrap this up. Let's get to the Lions and the Buccaneers. Honestly, I don't even want to do this. Game finally officially ended. They finally ended the coverage. It's 10:40 a.m. and the NFL coverage is officially ended on ESPN. Now we're watching the ESPN night test team that no one cares about. Lions versus Buccaneers. Lions 24, Buccaneers 9. The Buccaneers defense was really good in this game. They kept the Buccaneers in the game towards the end, but ultimately the Buccaneers couldn't put a drive together to score a touchdown to save their lives. And Baker Mayfield was not very good. He was missing throws everywhere. He was overthrowing receivers. When I thought they were finally going to get a break, perfectly thrown ball to Mike Evans, he caught it, but it didn't complete the process of a catch because he ended up something with his shoulder. I don't even know what the official injury is. It ended up being something with his shoulder, and he ended up having to drop the ball because of the injury. So that was terrible break and a big break for the Lions because I really thought the Buccaneers finally put something together there, but it didn't end up happening. The Lions started off hot. They started off hot. First series of the game, they scored in like 5 minutes. They gave them all Gibbs, Monroe St. Brown, easy touchdown. But after that, and then you thought they're gonna dominate this game through the offense because the Buccaneers went 3-and-out. And then I believe they fumbled. The Lions got sacked and fumbled. Diaby recovered it, and they punt the ball. And then the Lions got it again. They easily drive down the field, but Dan Campbell goes for a turnover on downs. So you could see the signs of the offense of the Lions dominating this game, but ultimately the defense was able to stop them with the Lions' decision making, still able to stop them. And that was the story of the first half. It ended up being 14-0 before the Buccaneers got a field goal right before the half, 14-3 going into half. And the Buccaneers were able to stop the Lions that looked like they were unstoppable. But no matter what, the Lions still controlled the game because the Buccaneers could not put together an offensive drive to save their lives. They couldn't. Ibuka had some wide open opportunities that Baker Mayfield couldn't hit him on. There was one right in the end zone. He underthrew it. There was one where he overthrew it. It was just a bad day for Baker Mayfield. He had 228 yards, but he dropped back. He passed the ball 50 times. He had 50 passing attempts. And half of them were on one drive where he was just completely dinking and dunking down the field to Kate Otten. It was not a good game. It started off 14-0, so they really couldn't get the run game going. They're missing Bucky Irvin Snow. Rashad White only had 38 yards carrying. It was a pretty bad game. Tez Johnson, though, he had the only touchdown in the game. Pretty good touchdown. Tez Johnson looks like he's like a J-Mo kind of receiver, deep play receiver. You'll see him go for at least one big play a game now. He came along with the injuries last week to Evans and Ibuka. But Ibuka came back from injury pretty good. Mike Evans came back from injury, got injured, unfortunately. But honestly, this game was not very impressive by the Lions. Gibbs he broke records today. I think he had his highest career. How do you put this? His highest game with all the yards added up, both receiving and rushing. He had. Let me do the quick math. You think I can do the quick math? It was 118 yards combined with 2 touchdowns. Complete. The game plan from the Lions early was to get the ball to the two best playmakers, their two best, all around talented dudes, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs. That's what they established early. Got the ball to Gibbs, he had an explosive play. Then they got the ball to Amon-Ra, scored a touchdown. And then they kept it going with the run game, 136 yards. Kept it going, swinging it out to Gibbs he only had 3 receptions, 82 yards. 17 carries, 136 yards. There was not really much from Montgomery. He came in 13 carries, 21 yards. It was all about Gibbs and Amon-Ra. Both led their team in rushing and receiving. Laporta had 15 yards. J-Mo had 0 yards. It was all about Amon-Ra and Jahmyr Gibbs controlling the game. They're two best and most talented players. Other than that, that was it. This game was not very impressive. It wasn't as bad as the damn Texans Seahawks game, which I wish I could erase from my memory as soon as possible. But the Lions are still undefeated at home. They've revenged their win. They haven't had back-to-back losses in who knows how long by now. And the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield played a good defensive game. Baker Mayfield and the offense for the Buccaneers played an absolute shit of a game. But Baker Mayfield still right there in the MVP running. Patrick Mahomes is definitely leading now. But this doesn't change the fact that Baker Mayfield's still impressive and still one of the better quarterbacks, if not the top 5 quarterback in the league currently this season. So I don't want to hear the talk that Baker Mayfield isn't that good, or did we overreact on the Baker Mayfield start because he had all these one possession games and he could have got lucky. Blah, blah. No. Baker Mayfield still really good. He's gonna come back next week. Who do they play? He's gonna come back next week. He's gonna hit these throws that he needs. He might be missing Mike Evans. He plays the Saints. That's a get right game. He's gonna come back next week and do what he has to do. Other than that, these games absolutely sucked. Terrible Monday Night Football slate. Even though the Buccaneers-Lions game was supposed to be good, Seahawks-Texans, terrible. It's terrible. Don't not watch a Texans game for the rest of the season after that. Might even not watch a Seahawks game for the rest of the season after that. But other than that, we're finally off of this thing at 1:50 a.m. The ESPN stopped talking about the game. I don't know. 1:50 a.m. Finally off this thing. Get me to sleep, please. Jesus.